Today I'm talking with Ellen Marie Jensen, the author of the book We Stopped Forgetting, Stories from Sami-Americans. And Ellen, I've read your book, I've enjoyed it so much, and it's in its second printing now, second edition. What do you attribute the success of your book to?
Well, I think with any indigenous research, it's important to bring research back to the communities that provided information, that provided their time, and back to the people that actually made the book possible, and those were the people that shared their stories for the book. So I went to various communities in North America that had many Sami immigrants, and that we know that there are descendants that care about their Sami heritage. And so when the book finally came out, which was quite a process because it was based on my master's thesis, but then it has additional information and other research that I've done. And I was very cognizant of returning to those communities, and I think that generated a lot of interest. So I think an important aspect of it, at least in North America, was that I met again these communities, and people were very interested in hearing about the people in their community that had shared their stories, or about Sami immigration and this sort of hidden narrative that no one else has heard of, or that people hadn't really known that much about. I think in Scandinavia the success is probably because there's so little information about Sami immigration, and so the people who might have relatives that moved to North America, it was a very important book for them, because they're like, what happened? What happened to our people? Who are they today? So.
And so you've been on book tours back to those communities that you did research in? Okay. So what are some of the places you've gone to?
Northern Minnesota, around Cloquet. That was an important place. I was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I was in the Pacific Northwest, also the Twin Cities. Several of the subjects were in the Twin Cities. And I was recently in New York.
Yes, the Danish Athletic Club. And so that was a unique experience to find a community of Scandinavians in Brooklyn, of all places.
And I had no idea, and then that there were also Sami-Americans in that community who shared heritage from the same area of where my family is from. So that was very exciting to meet people there. And because anywhere where Scandinavians settled, there's inevitably some Sami who came alongside them.
Yes.
So anywhere.
What has been the feedback from people that have read your book? What are one of the interesting bits of feedback that they've told you?
I think two of the most rewarding things I've been told. One was from the son of one of the storytellers. And one of the storytellers passed away before the book came out. And so I've dedicated the second edition to him. And his son read the book, and he read his father's story, and he said, I felt like he was sitting in the room with me. It was probably the most heartfelt compliment or feedback I've gotten, and also from my own relatives, and what it meant to them that I shared my story, which is a collective family story. I tell about some of my own family's history. And so, hearing from people in my own family that read it and took the time to read it, that meant a lot to me as well. But I very often get letters from people, and it's just wonderful. I love hearing back from people who've connected with the stories, or been particularly moved by one of them, or recognized their own history in the stories. And I think it's also important that we sort of give credit to the storytellers, because it isn't just me. This is not something that I did on my own. I couldn't have done it without these 5 people who were willing to put themselves out there in a way. I mean, this is a risk to tell your story, and especially when it deals with ethnicity and a cultural background that's been hidden and stigmatized in some situations. So to come out and have your photograph and have your, and kind of spill your speak from the heart and from the mind, and be and make yourself very visible I think that's very brave, and I couldn't have done it without them. It's not really, I feel like it's really a collective project in a sense. I've tried to be very inclusive, like trying to include them in sort of what's going on with the book. And but I would love to see the 5 storytellers. Well, of course, one of them has passed away, but maybe his son could sort of step in for him. I'd love to see the 5 of them in a conversation and in
that
a
would be
video,
interesting.
talking about how they relate to the book when it came out and what it meant to them. Because everybody has different experiences of what it means to them that their story is in this publication. And so I think it would be really exciting to do that as well, to get that sort of on film.
Yes. Well, thanks for talking today, Ellen, and visiting.
Thank you.
And again, the book is We Stopped Forgetting, Stories from Sami-Americans.